Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Josh from Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. I have Elise, also known as Horror Review Girl, here on the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Doing well, pretty early, but I'm functioning. So
You're functioning better than I would be able to be at that time in the morning.
I know, especially because I didn't really sleep. I'm running
Oh,
on, I'm running on maybe like an hour or two.
oh dear.
So we'll see how today goes. I'll be crashing at work pretty hard today.
Fall asleep on any cats.
Oh God, or any dogs, or we have um like all kinds of animals come in, birds, gerbils. God.
Oh,
So yeah, tell us a little bit about you for the viewers who might not know who you are and what you do.
so my name's Elise. I started an Instagram account, Horror Review Girl. Just I felt like it's quite hard to find horror movies that you want to watch. Like I was just struggling to get recommendations and stuff, and because I watch so many horror movies, I thought, oh, I'll just put it somewhere. Like all the movies that I watch that I think are good or that I don't think are good. So I started the Instagram account, started reviewing horror movies, and then I found Mark, and then I found Scott. So now I am co-host with Scott on the Uran podcast YouTube show. So that's kind of, I've got a TikTok account as well, but I don't really know what I'm doing on TikTok, to be honest. I think I'm like a bit too old for TikTok, but mostly it's Instagram and the YouTube account. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I like to review horror movies.
Hell yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. I love watching you guys on the You Run podcast. So
a lot of fun.
um yeah, it's fun. And it's great. I've had Scott on here. He was actually my
Yeah.
first episode, and then I'm glad to have you on. And then a couple more episodes from now, Mark is coming on. So
Oh, good, good.
pretty much almost the whole gang.
Yeah, almost the whole gang. You need to get Heather involved.
Right, right. That's
Wednesday Wine and Horror.
Wednesday. That's what I was gonna say. Wednesday Wine and Horror.
She does true crime. Mark does the horror movie review podcast, and I do the YouTube show podcast. YouTube show review. It's so confusing because it's podcast and everything, but it's a YouTube show.
Yeah. Well, shoot, if I have her on, maybe we should do something like that movie. Have you ever seen From Hell? Like
Yeah.
about Jack?
Oh, the Johnny Depp one.
Yeah, or something
Uh-huh.
like where it's like
Something true crimey. Yeah. It's a good
yeah,
idea.
yeah. So yeah, so what got you into horror, Elise?
I started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer at like a really young age. So I think I must have been pretty young when I started watching it. Like I think I was like 9 or 10. So I absolutely loved Buffy, like this strong kick-ass female character, like all the demons and the vampires. So that kind of got me interested in horror. And then I guess as I got a little bit older, I remember getting a DVD player. My parents bought me like I think one of them was like Night of the Living Dead, and I got like Sleepwalkers, the vampire movie, and like one of my first DVDs was Dawn of the Dead as well. Like I just remember watching all these things, and I started to be like, oh, I quite like this. And then obviously I watched Scream, and I absolutely loved it. And I think started watching like that kind of movies, like the 2000s movies, like Wrong Turn, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Ring, that kind of thing. It just all got me hooked. But it was really Buffy that it started with, because I loved that. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I need to start watching more like movies and stuff that have demons in it. So yeah, the rest is history. I've just always loved horror since then.
Very nice, very nice. So if you had to say, what would be your favorite horror movie?
Oh, Scream, hands down. That's very easy. It's very easy for me to say that. I love Scream.
Very nice. That's actually, it's always been a tie between Scream and Friday the 13th Part 6 for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've not made it that far in the Friday series, actually. I have to say, I'm quite of all the like franchise movies, Friday is the one that I have really seen the least of. I've only just started watching it properly, so I'm only three
Okay.
movies in at this point. I've got a lot to watch. I've watched the remake that came out in 2009, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I say that my favorite part of that whole franchise is 4, 5, and 6.
mm,
The Tommy Jarvis character that they bring into the films
all right.
is like my favorite, like final dude, I think.
Oh,
So I think it really starts to pick up there for me. I mean, I don't mind the like the first couple, but like that's where it
I
really
have to
picks up.
say, didn't really like the first one. I didn't think the first one was that good. I was a bit like, oh, this is it. Okay. I think Sleepaway Camp was a better movie than Friday the 13th Part 1. Like, if you're comparing camp movies, I think Sleepaway Camp was better than the first one.
I'm not gonna lie, I finally watched Sleepaway Camp last week.
Yeah. I mean, I only watched it very recently as well, but I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I really liked it. The end is so good as well. Like, I was quite surprised by the end, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm excited because I'm going to a horror convention next month, and
Oh, no.
Felissa Rose is going to be there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done horror conventions before?
Nope. There's never been any around here.
No, I've never done one before either, but we're doing For the Love of Horror. I'm going with Mark and Scott in
Oh,
October. So
nice. That should be a fun time.
yeah,
Very
especially
nice.
the after party.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Uh,
Definitely.
so yeah, so you and I both decided on the film The Descent.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, it was released in 2005, directed by Neil Marshall. I was looking up, I guess he's done like a couple other movies that I had seen, like Tales of Halloween,
I
um,
did, actually.
Dog Soldiers.
Mhm. I knew you did Dog Soldier.
I guess he did the 2019 Hellboy. Um, so a few movies that I recognized, and
Mhm.
I've seen The Descent before, but it had been a long while since I had
Oh,
seen
yeah.
it last. So it's definitely a fun revisit for sure. Um,
Regular watch for me, actually, I have to say.
um, sorry, morning brain. So if you were to give a synopsis of a film, do you think you could run it for the folks that are watching, like a quick synopsis on our movie?
So The Descent is about a group of friends that get together to go caving, and they start on this cave. They get down and they discover some creatures that they didn't expect to be there, and then they have to fight for their lives to try and get out. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah,
It's a very
yeah,
claustrophobic movie. If you don't like little tight claustrophobic spaces, then this one's definitely going to get to you. Like, the creatures are pretty creepy as well, but I think the claustrophobia aspect of it is actually much scarier than the creatures, even though they are scary as well.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've gone to some caves before with my school, like when I was growing up, and we went through these things called lava tubes, and they were like these really tight crawl spaces, and
Oh.
I hated every second of it. I did it,
Mm,
but I was just like, never again. Never again will I ever get in a tight space like that. I'm out.
no, I don't. I personally don't. I don't think I could do it. And I don't. When I think about it, I wouldn't be like I'm a claustrophobic person, but I just can't. I would get so scared of being stuck. I think I'd panic halfway through.
Right? And then like might end up causing you to get stuck
Yeah,
from the panic.
not for
Um,
me. Not for me.
yeah, and so I was reading up on it, and I guess the design for those creatures were drawn from inspiration from the 1922 film Nosferatu.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I think if you look at them as well, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that.
Well, at first glance, I'm like, Voldemort, is that you?
I'm always surprised the first time. I was okay this time because actually on this rewatch, I'd actually watched The Descent quite recently. But I don't know if you remember the first time you see the creature properly. They're like looking through the camera and then they move the camera and the creature kind of comes out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it, and every time I watch the movie it gives me a fright. They are creepy,
Yeah.
horrible looking things, they are. What I thought was funny as well was the director kept the creatures from the girls that were the main cast. They didn't actually see the creatures at all until they were filming, so their reaction was quite genuine. I quite like that. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I like when they can do that with a movie, like
Mm-hmm.
get the real raw like emotion
Mm-hmm.
and reactions from the actors. That was
Mm-hmm.
so that's definitely a cool aspect of it for sure. Um yeah, so that whole opening sequence of the movie, you have like the friends whitewater rafting.
Yeah.
They're having a good time and it seems very lighthearted, and then you get the husband, I guess, is hanging out with his daughter watching them do this, or waiting for them
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom of this river. um and he's helping one of her friends like get out of the raft and do stuff, and you
Mm-hmm.
have like this feeling that there's something
Yeah.
going
I didn't
on.
pick up on that the first time I ever watched it. So I remember rewatching it and I was like, hang on a minute. I was like, that's a bit, something's going on there. And then like she makes a couple of like, it's so obvious. See, when I watched it the second time, I was like, oh my God, it's so obvious that something was going on between her friend and the husband. I'm like, how the fuck did I miss that when I watched it the first time? Because like they like proper like gaze into each other's eyes when he helps her out the water. And then
Yeah,
there's like tension in the car. So they get into the car together, the actual wife and the husband get into the car and drive away. And then there's a horrible accident and her husband and daughter die. But
yeah,
then after that, there's loads of comments made from the friend, which is Juno. There's loads of comments. Like she even at one point says, we all lost something in that crash. And I was like, oh, holy shit. She actually basically just comes right out and says that she was clearly having an affair with this woman's husband. And I completely missed all of that the first time I watched it. Completely missed that.
well, yeah, and I mean, and that comment can be seen and I guess in two different ways. The way that
Yeah.
you pick up that it's about the
Yeah.
husband, but maybe she's like also talking about her friend. Maybe she's
Yeah.
grown distant since that crash, and so
Yeah.
they feel like they've lost their friend in the
Yeah.
process. But I
Nah, she was
guess,
definitely her husband.
yeah, which, man, he had a crappy way to die, like those poles coming through
Oh yeah,
the
that was pretty
windshield.
grim, wasn't it? Yeah, like
Some
I
Final
also remember the
Destination
first
stuff.
time, yeah, first time watching it, I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, because you read the synopsis and you're like, it's about a group of girls that go into this cave, and then you don't really expect that kind of thing to happen right at the start. So that was quite a surprise. Especially like you're saying, it was pretty graphic.
Yeah, and like you don't really know the daughter is dead at first, like, because I mean, unless you were like, unless I missed it and saw that she was sitting behind the husband. I mean, I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention, but you just see that he for sure got like skewered,
Oh yeah.
but then it
Yeah,
fades
he's
to black,
done.
and you find out at the hospital that the daughter didn't make it
Mhm.
either. So yeah, that I couldn't imagine that loss, um on both your husband and your daughter. Like that would just, I think that would devastate me. I don't know if I'd ever function quite right
No.
again.
Especially if she like, I get the impression that she at least suspects that there was something going on. So like that would be on your mind so much as well, wouldn't it? Like
Yeah,
your husband and your daughter just died, but also you think your husband might have been having an affair with one of your friends. Like, yeah, that must be pretty rough.
yeah, unresolved. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a horrible way to leave it.
So the way that they decide to make her feel better is to take her caving for the weekend.
Yeah, like a year later out in the Appalachian Mountains. And it looks like they add like a couple more friends to their group,
Mhm.
because there was like only 3 in the beginning, and then there's like 5 of them that go into this cave. um and the night before, they spend it like having fun, kind of partying, drinking, even though they know that they're going to get an early morning start. And they're like, the one chick, you can tell, like she like opens the door and she's like hung over as hell. She's
Yeah.
like,
No.
oh, like, are we still doing this? But yeah, like it's cool. They like, they go down in this cave and it seems very lit and illuminate, like, or illuminated when they first get in there, but it gets progressively dark as they go in. Like
Mhm.
there's like no signs of light after that. It's just the headlamps, and that's it.
I think the other bit that's interesting is when they're going, and I think about this every time I watch it, is when they're going into the cave. So the night before, there's quite a lot of hints that Sarah is still, she's got a lot going on, after this trauma of her husband and child dying. Like, there's lots of hints that she's still got this ongoing trauma. And then as they're walking through the cave, the girl is giving you all the symptoms that can happen. Like, if you can get disorientated and start having hallucinations, like if you become too dehydrated or whatever when you're down in the caves. So whenever I watch it, I always think, is this them saying that actually all of this is just a hallucination? Because you would never know. I always think that every time I watch the movie, I always think that at that part.
That's a good point. I know I remember her having like that vivid dream too, like that night before, like her daughter blowing out the birthday candles. And yeah, that's a good point. I didn't
so
really
there's
think
a lot
of it.
going on. There's a lot going on there, isn't there? And then they're like, none of them are that excited because they're like, oh, it's just a touristy cave. Like, I think they call it like a level 2. I don't really know what that means, but I assume, level 1's going to be the easiest. So level 2 is probably not that hard when you're used to caving. So they're like, oh, it's just going to be an easy cave, whatever. And then they get deeper into it and they're like, something's not right here. When the cave starts collapsing.
That girl, was it, I don't think it was Holly. I can't remember. I can't remember. Like, so there's Sam, Holly, Juno, Sarah. I don't remember which. I don't remember which one was in like the tunnel, but she gets freaked out, and like then they end up. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think it was Sarah that got stuck in, when I think it was her that started freaking out. And then our friend, was it Beth, the friend, is like saying to her, you like calm down, the worst thing that could happen to you has happened to you. And then the cave starts collapsing. She's like, right, just go, ignore it, like, let's just go, get out of the cave, stop freaking out, you're like about to have a cave collapse on you. And then they're all like, this is weird, what's going on? And Juno's like, oh, actually, nobody's been in this cave before. And I wanted us to discover it. And they're all like, what?
Right, that's when it really starts to kick off, and everybody's kind of starting to get sore with each other a little bit, and mostly with Juno. And so they have to figure out another way out of this cave. And they're like, well, one, even if it had been like the cave that they were planning on doing, she left the book in the glove compartment, so either way they would have been screwed. Even if it was a level 2, they would have been like, well, where do we go from here? We don't have a map, But it's even worse that they like, it's like a cave that nobody goes to. Shoot.
Oh god, even that is terrifying enough, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think my like favorite line of the movie was the one girl, I can't remember which one said it, but I just love when she's like, I'm an English teacher, not fucking Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely the best line in the movie. Yeah, agreed.
I was feeling that. I'm like, I'd be feeling the same sort of way looking at that. I'd be like, nope. Oh gosh. But I love a lot of the lighting in this film too, like some of the scenes, like I think it's from like the flares and like the like the red light, and then like there are scenes with like the green lighting, and it's just like, I love that, like that that color spectrum, like it just adds to the creepiness factor of this movie. But
even I'm watching, and they're in all these little tight spaces, and I'm like saying to myself, it's just a set, they're not actually in a cave, because I'm like, God, that just looks horrible.
Yeah, I was reading that they decided to build sets, and they actually built like
they thought it'd be too dangerous, didn't they?
Yeah, they built like 21 different sets or 21 different caves to get all the different angles and the different, and that's pretty cool. Like that probably took a lot of time and effort to do that, to because it looked legitimate. Like I swear I thought they were actually in a cave before I knew that.
Yeah. I thought they were in a cave, especially because there was like part where there was some sort of like water dripping down and it was like a pool. I know that they can make a set like that, but I still thought that looked quite real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like, and I read too that the opening, like, when they're down, when they first get into the cave and they look up, that opening was CG.
yeah, I'd read that as well actually, because I was reading that the exterior parts, like the interior was all obviously set, but the exterior was filmed in Scotland, or at least parts of it. Because I was looking, I was like, oh, where's that? Because obviously I live in Scotland. So it's in Perth, which is like maybe about an hour from me. So I thought
Oh,
that was quite
wow.
interesting. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. I've always
So I was
wanted
looking
to.
up trying to figure out exactly where it was. I couldn't quite get that, but it would be quite cool to go and like see which parts were actually filmed in Scotland.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's always fun, like going to a place where you've known they filmed the movie and like getting to like check out. Like, I want to go to where they filmed Nightmare on Elm Street. I want to go see the Nightmare House, and there's so many places I want to go.
Yeah.
I have like a long list. But yeah, Scotland, I eventually I want to visit there. I want to visit Scotland and I want to go to Ireland, and those are like two of my top places. And then I think like the one place in the world that is like my number one is I want to go to Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, that's always been on my list. That's like that I mean, first I read the book, growing up, and then like watched the Disney cartoon, and then like saw the Tim Burton, and I was just like obsessed with the Headless Horseman.
Oh yeah.
So
I've not seen the Disney cartoon, but I really like the movie, the Tim Burton movie.
yeah, no, that was a really good film. Had a lot of good cast in it too. So yeah, they also, as they're going deeper in the caves, they notice cave drawings. So that's our first sign that there have been people down there of some sort. Like, most likely it seems like Neanderthals or something. You would guess from like the cave drawings, it would be like, okay, cavemen maybe. Like I mean, they were just very crude drawings, like so they're like, okay, so maybe there's hope, there's been people down here, like maybe there are other ways out. But
Sorry,
Holly,
I knew my cat was just about to start meowing. She's just come downstairs and I was watching her going, don't you dare, and she's about to jump in front of the camera as well.
Oh gosh. She's like, I want to be involved.
Yeah, she's like, she does this when me and Scott are recording as well. She just wants to know what's going on.
Right, exactly. That's if my dog wasn't in our bedroom, that would be the same case right now. He's like, he wants to be wherever dad is. So I'm like, nope, you got to stay in here, lay on your bed. I'm gonna close the door.
It's not that she cares about being where I am. She just wants to know what's going on. So because sometimes I record in the spare room. Like if my other half, if he's in, I just feel like it's unfair for me to take up the whole house for recording. So I'll go and record in the spare room, and then like the cats are just constantly at the door. So I'm in the kitchen today, and I'm like, at least they can come in and out, and they won't wonder where I am. But no, she still like wants to meow at me and know what I'm doing. So hopefully we don't hear too much more of that.
No worries. I'm in my spare bedroom. My wife is like, she is out like a light in the room next door. So
jealous. Are you jealous?
So Holly decides, like the next following scenes, Holly decides that she's like, oh, I see like daylight, and she runs trying to get to that light and ends up falling into a hole and breaking her breaking her leg and her
compound fracture.
Oh god, that was pretty nasty. Her bone was like sticking out, and like oh geez. But they're like, we gotta like put it back in, like that's the only like option we really have. Like oh gosh, I just I'm good with gore, but it's just like I felt that, like when you see people in like pain and like their bones and stuff, you're like, you just get like this phantom feeling of like, oh.
Definitely.
And during that time, God, I'm horrible at this. I'm horrible at knowing which character's doing what.
I know. It's quite difficult though when it's dark, and they do kind of look quite similar.
Right? But one of them finds a helmet in the mud, like which is
All
like,
this scene to me happens really quickly. So like Holly gets injured, and then I feel
yeah,
like they're like obviously they're trying to help her, and then something. It just all I feel like that all happens really quickly. So
yeah,
I'm like, what the hell's going on? Sorry to give up.
yeah, the pacing starts to pick up, you know. It kind of, it
Mhm.
like, I mean, the pacing of the whole film was very, I mean, it was decent pacing, but like
Yeah.
it definitely, you can tell that they were like, it was speeding up and like cramming things in, like, because it's only an hour and 38-minute
Yeah,
runtime.
it's a short movie, isn't it?
Yeah. So they like, she finds the helmet, and there's like, you hear like the creepy noises like that we find out later are the creatures, but it's just like you hear like the kind of like clicking sounds and like a little bit of squealing. um and yeah, so then we kind of, I think I noticed that was like the first like glimpse that I caught on of the creature, was like right during that scene, like all those cut scenes of like things going
Yeah.
on. um and so they start to like, you know, they're more panicky now at this point. You know, Holly's hurt, they don't know where they are, they're just like, we need to get the hell out of here, like. um and they're like, Juno's like kind of leading the way, and like she has like her lighter, and she's like checking where the airflow is, like the draft, to like kind of figure out, okay, well, there's obviously some kind of airflow coming through here, so maybe we should head this direction. You know, doing that whole like outdoorsy kind of person kind of
Tomb
thing.
Raider thing.
Yeah, the Tomb Raider kind of thing. And they stumble upon a killing ground during this
Hmm.
whole like sequence. Like there's all these bones, and like they're like, oh, that's like animal remains, but I'm pretty sure that's not all that's there. I'm sure mixed in there, there's definitely probably some human remains. Sorry, I've got lots of notes. um, and our first kill of the movie, well, nope, never mind. The husband is the first death of the movie, but like our first kill of
He
like,
doesn't matter.
doesn't count. It is Holly.
Hmm.
She gets like her like neck or throat ripped
She
out by
gets,
this.
yeah,
She gets fucked up.
yeah, she gets pretty fucked up by the crawlers. Yeah, because that's the scene when they're looking around. They're using the camera because it's got night vision, and then they turn the camera and you see a crawler, and that's the first time you properly see one. And then they all start screaming their heads off, and then Holly gets
Right.
massacred. I mean, I'm not judging them. You would scream your head off. Of course you would.
Right.
And yeah, Holly gets it. Poor
uh,
Holly. I quite liked her character as well. I
yeah.
felt like the ones that I liked the most died first.
Right. That's usually how it goes in a lot of films. You're like, I want to see them make it to the end, and then they're
Yeah.
like, they're
Okay, they're gonna
gone.
die. Yeah.
Yeah. They like to do that to you. They like to make you feel for some certain character, and they're like, okay, we're removing them from the
Yeah.
chessboard.
Yeah.
And so the creature starts to drag her carcass off, and Juno like flips her lid and ends up killing that first creature,
Mhm.
with like one of those like tools, like I
Yeah,
think
the
it's like,
climate act.
yeah, the climbing little pickaxe thing.
Yeah.
um and we're like, okay, they're easy, it seems like, you know, they can be handled.
Yeah.
um
I quite
and
like that actually, that they actually can be killed, so they can kind of defend themselves. It makes it a bit more interesting that way, I think.
yeah, it makes it seem manageable. They're not like some supernatural, you know,
Hmm.
entity. They're just monsters, or
Yeah.
essentially like humanoid creatures, because you can see that they
Yeah, they're
bear.
like, it seems like they're people that have adapted to living in the cave like that. That was the impression I got.
Yeah, like being so long underground, like
Yeah.
we come to learn that they're blind.
Hmm.
um and they use like echolocation, kind of like a bat,
Yeah.
to find their prey, and probably
Which is
walk.
helpful because girls
Yeah.
are very loud.
Yeah, no
That's
joke.
the one thing in this movie I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, especially Juno. So they, after that whole scene where they're like, they fight off the creatures, they all get broken up, don't they? They all like go off in little groups. I think
Yeah.
Sarah ends up falling somewhere, like she ends up falling down. And then there's the two sisters that go off, and Juno goes off, and she's just shouting constantly for them. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why? That's clearly not like, yeah, I get that you want to find your friends, but like, she'd been such a badass in the scene before. Like, Juno very quickly becomes quite, she's like the badass of the group. And that's
Yeah.
when you know, that Tomb Raider quote's quite funny, because I don't know if you play Tomb Raider, but she has a very similar climbing axe. So it's just quite ironic. But yeah, she very quickly is just like, do you know what? I'm gonna fuck these guys up. They want to kill me, fine. I'm gonna like fuck them up with my climbing axe. And then she also starts screaming constantly for her friends. I was like, dude, come
Oh
on.
yeah. And yeah, so they're like they're all separated, like you said. Sarah's by herself, and she kind of
She gets
becomes,
knocked out.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And she ends up waking up and using the camera again, because she's the one with the camera. So, and she sees
Smart.
like the humanoid feasting on like something.
Mm,
And she's like, she gets the point. She's real quiet. She's
yeah.
like finally someone realizes you don't fucking scream.
Yeah, I feel like even though they've not figured out yet that they're blind and can hear really well, I feel like if you were being hunted by these creatures, you like automatically would be like, I probably shouldn't scream. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
that would be like the first thing you'd think.
That's always like my favorite part of watching horror movies is like you can point out everything they're doing wrong. You're like, oh my god, are you stupid? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like so I was definitely feeling that too. I was sitting there like, guys, just
Yeah.
just
Shut
stop.
up for a minute.
Think
Shut
about
up for
it.
1 minute.
Like, yeah, if you were like, even if you were running from a serial killer or anything and you were hiding,
Anything.
you would
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah. They
Like,
get it eventually, but
yeah.
it takes them a while. And then I feel like they still like talk quite a lot. And I'm like, shut up.
Right. Right. Okay, what is going on? So this is the first. Usually these Zoom meetings, like um it runs for about like, I don't know, most of my videos have been like more than an hour. And today it's telling me that I have 3 minutes or I have to upgrade to pro.
Oh.
I'm like, hold on, what? Shoot. I don't even have my wallet. I don't have... so shoot. We might have to like,
we'll just have to start again. I will not start again, but we'll just have to rejoin, right?
Right. We'll do like a quick like second session like to add on. So we'll pick up where we left off because it says I've got like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So but yeah, so Juno is like doing her thing and she gets attacked again, and you know, she kills the creature, and then we see her swing around with her pickaxe and she ends up stabbing Beth through the neck with her pickaxe.
To be fair to Juno, it was an accident. She thought she thought she was about to get attacked by a creature.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely on accident. The part after,
absolutely nothing to help her.
Yes, that's the part that bothered me. It was like I realized that it was in the heat of the moment, and like, you know, she was like rolled around, didn't know who was going to be behind her. But the fact that she walks away and like leaves her bleeding out, and she's like literally like in this like help me please kind of like state, like she doesn't like try to stop the bleeding or like, dude,
nothing.
She had a lighter. She could have tried to cauterize the wound or something. Like, there's anything is better than leaving your friend to bleed out. Like, that was like the one thing that set me off. I was like, oh, fuck you, Juno. Like,
yeah. I mean, Juno gets a pretty rough ride in the film, doesn't she? Really, like, especially towards the end. And you kind of like, I was like, oh, I feel sorry for her a little bit because she clearly didn't mean it, but she did also leave her bleeding. And then, you know, I know I'm moving really far on with the plot, but Sarah does eventually find out that she killed Beth. And like, Sarah kind of tests her and Juno doesn't tell her, but like, see if that was you and you'd accidentally killed one of your friends, like, when's a good time to bring that up? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're in a cave being attacked by creatures, at what point to be like, oh, by the way, I did kind of accidentally kill Beth, but like, it was a total accident. But yeah, I did kill her. But let's go and escape these creatures and try and get out of this cave. Like, when's a good time to do that? There isn't really.
No. The only time that you would possibly be able to eventually talk about it is like way after the fact.
Yeah, like when you're out of the cave.
Right.
But maybe she was like in shock when she, you know, and she's like, shit, I've just stabbed my friend in the neck. Maybe she was in shock and that's why she went away. Maybe she didn't mean to leave her bleeding to death.
Right.
Play devil's.
And we're back. Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties.
This is what happens when you're in different continents.
Right. Not as easy as like getting together with your friend down the road and recording just together. But yeah, so we were talking about you know, there was never really a right time for Juno to tell Sarah, you know, about killing Beth. And you know, I think that was already adding icing on top of the cake, because like you said, we feel like Sarah knows about her husband, and
she's probably wanted to fuck Juno for a while.
Right, maybe not kill her, but probably beat the shit out of her or something. But like, I think this is like this is definitely the final straw, when she finds out that Beth had been murdered by.
Beth was badass. That was actually what I was going to say. Beth was my favorite. I was really fucking gutted that she died so quickly.
Yeah, that was
Beth and Holly. They were the cooler ones.
Yeah, and I was like, that whole bleeding out scene. I was so sad because like, I'm like, she's watching her friend leave her to die.
She didn't even say sorry. Like, I like, again, she's in shock. But you'd be like, oh fuck, sorry, I didn't mean to stab you in the neck. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, she's just like.
Yeah.
My bad.
So then there's the scene, like, you know, they're fighting off these creatures. Then after that, and Juno or Sarah ends up taking like a pickaxe or whatever and stabs Juno in the leg, and returns the favor by getting her to be swarmed by these
crawlers.
Yeah, and there's like a whole freaking hive of them just like closing in on her, and like the last thing, you don't even see her die, you just hear her scream echo through like the cavern, and you're like, well, you know, it was a fitting end for this girl, you know.
Have you seen the second one?
It's been too long, I can't remember it. I've seen The Descent too, but it's like, I don't remember a damn thing about it.
Not as good, but anyway, yeah. You do you find out Juno's fate in that anyway.
Oh shoot, yeah, I need to rewatch that then for sure. I like, it's been so long since I've seen either of them. Like, I just rewatched The Descent just like this last couple of days, so to like gear up for this, and I wanted it to be mostly fresh in my mind.
Yeah, that I always try and watch things like the day before I'm about to record something, because I'm like, I want to, like, I've just watched it.
Right. Sometimes I'll watch a movie multiple times before a review. Like, I'll watch it like earlier in the week, and then I'll watch it like the day before, so just so
depends
I like
on how
double
familiar
up.
I am with it.
Right.
If it's like The Descent, which I have watched quite a number of times, like fairly regularly, then I'm like, okay, I just probably need to watch it like once, because I'm familiar with the movie anyway. But yeah, maybe, although we did The Hills Have Eyes, which I haven't watched a lot, but that's not the kind of movie you want to watch more than once, really, within quick succession. So it depends on what it is, doesn't it?
yeah, for sure. If it's in your like regular circulation, or if it's like a movie you pick up off the shelf every so often. And like, that's how it was with my review with BJ was House of
Yeah.
Wax, and I hadn't seen that since it released.
Yeah.
So I
I
was
mean,
like,
I like that one, really. I really enjoyed you guys talking about it because yeah, I feel like if they hadn't cast Paris Hilton in that movie, that would be thought about so differently.
right. I mean, everybody else was very solid. I feel like,
Mhm.
Alicia Cuthbert, Jared Padalecki, um,
Chad Michael Murray
Chad
annoyed
Michael
me a
Murray.
little bit,
Yeah.
but I think it's because I watched him in One Tree Hill, and like it's just see watching him trying to be like badass. I was like, no, no,
doesn't
stop it.
doesn't work for you, man. No.
Yeah, just stop.
I know, and I had seen him in like a Hallmark movie with my wife
Yeah,
for like
yeah,
Christmas. I'm like,
yeah. You're not an intimidating guy.
right. But yeah, so this is like one of those ones, like I was like, oh god, I really have to watch this like the day before. I gotta really, or like a couple of days before at least, and take a lot of copious notes for this.
I
um
didn't like be like rush out and watch the second one because the second one's not great.
not too solid of a follow-up. I mean, there's so many sequels that can pull it off, but then there's so for all those sequels, there's like a shit ton that just fall flat on their face. So
I think when you think about like, so this movie makes sense. They've gone caving,
mhm.
they go down, they discover these creatures. Everybody fucking dies because they get killed by the creatures. Eventually, Sarah makes it out. But like the movie makes sense. The whole thing in the caves makes sense because they've gone down there not knowing what they're getting themselves into and they're trying to get out. Like makes sense. But in the second one, it's the same. It's Sarah again going back, and I'm like, why would you do that? Like you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that.
Right, like after everything you've been through and
And then it's like
witnessed.
it's much of the same as well then because it's like the same character. What's the result going to be different? You're going into the same cave with the same creatures. It's just the same movie again, really, but with not as good characters, basically. Because obviously it's not just her. But yeah, I just don't think a second one really makes that much sense. But anyway, the first one's very good.
Right, lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much like, that's how I feel like I really enjoy Sinister, like the one that Scott and I talked about. But the second one just felt like a repeat, like,
Yeah.
so like it was like Sinister is in like my top 10, and then the second one was like, I think I did like a Q&A thing like a long time ago. People were doing it, and like I was like, oh, I'll do it too. And like, it's like your least favorite sequel or something like that, and that was like one of my least favorite because it was just, it felt recycled. So yeah,
I'm not even sure that I finished the sequel. I don't think I actually finished watching it.
have you seen The Black Phone?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I loved it. Did you not like it?
Oh no, I loved it, like
I thought
that.
it was really good. I didn't like. I mean, I don't think they released too long of a trailer anyway. But I only really watched teaser trailers. But Ethan Hawke, I was like, well, I'm going to go and see it because I think he's amazing. But I was
Yeah.
absolutely hooked the whole movie. I was
Yeah.
like sitting that watching the cinema screen. I thought it was amazing. I was raving about it to Scott and Mark, and Scott was like, "Oh, I just think it looks like just another like kidnap movie," and I'm like, "It isn't. I promise, it isn't." The
No.
like child actors in it are so good as well. Like the whole thing's just amazing.
Yeah, no, I did a review on that with my drummer in my band, and
Mm,
I actually said the same thing. I was from start to finish, like
mm,
it kept me like glued to the screen. Like
mm.
I was in for the ride. Like there are movies where like, even if they're new, like if the pacing is bad or there's just like things that don't gel with me, like I'll like turn over and I'll like talk to my friend or something. But like the whole time, my drummer and I didn't say a word to each other. We went and saw it
Yeah,
together, and we didn't even like talk until the end of the movie. Like I was
I
just,
yeah, it's so good. It's such a good film. I don't know. It's not really. I've not seen loads of people talking about it. The people that I've seen review it have said it's good, but I'm like, why aren't more people talking about this movie? It's so good. I really
yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I even mentioned that for me, I felt like it's going to become another cult classic.
Yeah, I hope
I
so.
I feel like it was original enough. Like, you know, I get it. It's an abduction. Like there's like the abduction aspect of it, where people will be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's been done
There's so
before.
much
But
more to it though, isn't there?
yeah,
Like it, yeah. I don't yeah, I don't normally like paranormal movies as well. And it has that kind of element. And I look like I don't not honestly that normally puts me off a movie, but that movie was so good.
oh yeah, it's definitely going to be in my collection when it comes out. Um,
Mm.
sorry, I got us a little sidetracked there.
Yeah.
So
Oh, see, when you're talking about movies that and boring you, have you watched the new Thor movie?
no, that's Love and Thunder, right?
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet.
Nah.
I've been hearing mixed things about that. Like some people were like, oh, you know, there was some comedy to it. It was funny, but like it just, I don't know. A lot of people did say that they didn't really like it other than like some of like the comedic aspects of it. So I'm like, I don't know what to expect. Maybe I'll rent it on Redbox.
Yeah, I would. I just left the movie a bit like, hmm. Like I don't know how to explain it. I was just like, I think it tried too hard to be funny.
Hmm.
You do get to see Chris Hemsworth half naked, which was the best part of the movie, in my opinion. It's worth. Do you know what? It's worth seeing it on the big screen just for that.
I, I was gonna say something about him being eye candy, and that'd be like the main thing for a lot of the ladies out there that see him
I
or
think
see that
that's
movie.
yeah, that's kind of fair. Anyway, back to the December. Got totally sidetracked there.
So Sarah finds her way out. Like, well, we've already pretty much let everybody know that already, but she finds her
Yeah.
way out. She like climbs through this like little hole that's kind of covered up by grass, and like she's like, oh my god, I'm out. Like she finds their cars. Like, I wonder how far away. I don't think we really know how far away they were parked from where she exits, but
No.
she finds the car pretty quick.
Yeah.
And like takes off like a bat out of hell. um with, you know, I don't blame her. Like after everything she's been through, I'd get the hell like as far away from that place as I could. But then she like takes a moment to like pull over and like really let out her grief, and her like she just like
Mhm.
sobs, and she like ends up leaning out the window and vomiting. And that like leaves us with our very last scene where she like turns back into the car and sees like this apparition or whatever delusion of Juno in the car next to her. And then it like shows like a close up of her face, and then title sequence, or like, you know, credits.
So that's the American version. UK version
Oh,
ends different.
oh,
Yeah. So the ending that I've seen, they felt like they tested it on American audiences and they felt that it was too like grim. So
oh shit.
yeah, so in the UK version, the version that was released in the UK, you get that flash of Juno, and then she's back in the cave hallucinating. So Sarah's still in the cave, she never actually made it out, and she like is sitting in the cave, and she's like thinks she's with her daughter, and she's like blowing out a flame and stuff, and the creatures are still there. So yeah, that's how it ends in the version in the UK.
Oh
But
damn you.
yeah,
That makes more sense with the comment you made at the beginning of the video,
yeah.
like, you know, with like her already having delusions going in the cave.
Yeah,
Damn.
so but then you think how much of it is delusion, how much of it, that's the whole thing, because she ends still in the cave, which is very bleak, to be fair. It's a very
Yeah,
bleak ending, but
yeah. Well,
yeah.
dang. um Speaking of like, you know, versions that aren't American, I found out like the Danish title for the film actually translates to Descent into Hell,
Mm,
which is very suiting. I feel like for they all went through like hell in that cave. That was
mhm.
a pretty brutal way for a lot of them to go, and for like Sarah to be left all alone. Like, I mean, she's already lost like the biggest part of her life in the beginning of the film, and then all she has left is her friends, and then now she doesn't even have her friends. Like,
No.
damn, that's pretty fucked up.
Grim. It's grim. It's very grim. But it's still a very good movie.
Yeah. No, it was definitely a good movie. Speaking of sidetrack and grim, I was gonna say earlier when you mentioned The Hills Have Eyes, I was gonna apologize for my comment, my 3-word review.
I can't remember. I just remember it was funny. I can't even remember it now. What was your 3-word review?
It was like something inbred orgy. It was like,
Yeah.
what is the word for, like, I forgot the word I used, but it was like non-consensual. I just remember watching your guys' video, and when Scott, like, he was like having trouble even saying it, I was like, I'm like, oh, yep.
It was funny. That was, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was I enjoyed this. And they had to, like, I heard that they, like, were rushing to get this going because at the same time The Cave was coming out.
Yeah.
So, but have you seen The Cave?
What is it? No, I've not. I don't think so. I'm
They're
thinking
like,
of the whole. No, I
they're
think so.
they're like spelunking, and there's like this whole there's like some kind of virus in there or something, I think, too, that's turning them into these creatures, kind of. It's been a long time, but it's like some aspects are similar to the Descent. But so
I think I found quite similar was because I avoided watching it for years. God, what's it called now? As Above, So Below. And I know that it's different. I think it's a completely different story, but there was elements that were very similar to The Descent. Like there was a bit, they crawled through this tiny little space, and it just brought me right back to The Descent. Like that's what one of the things I liked of As Above, So Below more than I expected to. It's not as good as The Descent, but it definitely reminded me of it.
Yeah, there's definitely some parallels for sure. So if you were to rank The Descent, what score would you give it out of a 10?
9 out of 10.
Very nice. Gosh, I'm torn. I feel like I want to give it like an 8. An 8 out of 10. It was definitely really enjoyable. It was unique, and it just had you, like I said, like, I felt there was moments like I felt claustrophobic just watching them. And so it definitely was cool. And just like the fact that there was like so little you could see through certain parts of the movie, it was just like the headlamp or like through the video camera. It was just they used so many unique ways of shooting like scenes of this film. So it definitely is worthy of at least an 8 in my book. And I know that you really enjoy this, so I knew that either a 9 or a 10 was coming. I felt like that was going to be it.
Good old British horror.
So yeah, before we close this out, what's next for you?
So some more reviews on Instagram. Me and Scott have episodes come out every month on the YouTube channel, and I'm laughing because I always forget the date. Is it the 1st of the month? I can't remember. God, see if Scott's watching this, he's going to be like, for fuck's sake. I think it's the 1st of the month that the episodes come out, but it might not be. It might be the 6th. But every month we release a review on YouTube, and then halfway through the month we have a top 10 video. So our first top 10 video was our top 10 slashers.
Nice.
We've got an idea for next month. I've got a Scream 6 theories video coming out on YouTube soon as well. So all of those will be on the You Run podcast YouTube account, though not on mine, because Scott does magic with it that I wouldn't have a clue how to do.
Nice.
So yeah, if you want to see more of me, it's You Run podcast YouTube show, or my Instagram, which is @HorrorReviewGirl.
Very nice. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I always like to tune in and watch your guys's your episodes. So I just watched your top 10 just
Oh
like
yeah.
just earlier this last week, or like the end of the week.
Got kind of ripped into my top 5.
Scott, if you're watching this.
Yeah, fuck her. Love you.
Love you, Scott. Well,
Do you know what? He was like, I've got a few comments about your top 5, and then he did hit his, and he was like, oh, I bet you've got a few comments. So I was like, no, that's a really good list. That made you feel bad.
Right. That's great. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. This
Thank you
was
for having me.
yeah, this was a lot of fun. We'll definitely do it again in the future.
Yep.
Well, I plan on having a lot more of these. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I think it's where you're at. It's like probably like 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm about to go get
Yeah.
mine started.
Yeah. I hope you manage to function on like your 1 hour of sleep.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And to you viewers out there, keep killing it out there, my friends. Just remember, don't get caught.